Good afternoon. I'm Adrienne Gilliard here with Sandra Bazan. We're from the Inclusion team, bringing you this week's Behavior Bites Tidbit topic. And we have been talking about how challenging behaviors can be affected by the environment. And in talking about the pyramid, we like to talk about the pyramid. We're still on that bottom tier of the pyramid where environment matters. And so what I think we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of time out each week and talk about the different centers and how they can be arranged in the environment to help with challenging behaviors. So the topic today is blocks. So when we think about our block center, the block center helps children to learn to take turns, to share materials, develop new friendships, become self-reliant, increase their attention span, and do so many different things. And with the developmental domains, they're all interrelated. So you can see how the block center, the activities that the children do are also interrelated. So we're just going to talk about the setup of the blocks and how it all works together in our classroom.
Absolutely, absolutely. So blocks, as we all know, one of the most high traffic areas in our classroom. Everybody wants blocks. Everybody wants blocks. Okay, so first things first. It's your first day of school. You need to set up your room, right? And that's how I want all of us to kind of look at it, like a fresh, brand new school year. Doesn't matter that it is, almost March. Can you believe that? That it's almost March, right? So we're gonna, and so now we're gonna plan this. So we know that we need a block area. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure that when we're planning where we're gonna do what, we're also planning where are the other centers gonna go, right? So if I ask you block areas, typically, if you think about it, high level of noise or low level of noise, high level of activity or low level of activity?
Very high level of activity, high level of noise. So where do we put it?
We put it right next to dramatic.
The door. the door and dramatic play.
Yeah. So blocks, I mean, location is key, right? Because and the reason for that is because you're going to have different kids with different needs, right? And there are going to be those children that just the room is too loud, they just want to go for whatever reason, to the library, to snuggle, to the quiet corner, just to kind of and so when you have these loud centers, you definitely want to keep loud stuff quiet with serene and quiet. So that's the location part of it, for sure.
Right, definitely. And when we think about the kind of things that we put into our block center, what kind of things go into our block center? I actually have a nice picture that I'm going to share my screen and show.
I love this. And then whoever's watching, you need to take a picture of this, because when I saw this picture for the first time, it blew my mind. I'm like, wow.
Well, I hope I can make it big enough as well. Sandy, can you see it big enough?
Yes.
Okay. So these are just some of the things that you can include in your block center. And if we look at these pictures, they're natural materials that inspire imaginations. They're wood chips and pebbles, some leaves. Something else that I really, really want to point out is that a lot of times when we run our classrooms, we get caught up in keep the books in the library, keep the dolls in the dramatic play, but there are some times when you can bring other items into the block center. For example, books. What better place to have a book on construction and diggers and all of these,
and pictures of like buildings and castles, and just
it's the best place to put books, and also if the picture down at the bottom within this picture says label with photos or clip art labels, label your shelves, of course. But if you see this picture has pencils and pens and paper and everything. And this is a point where when your students are building or making whatever construction is that they have to make, they can take a pencil and a piece of paper and they can either draw what they have already constructed, or they can draw what they want to construct. And it's also a great opportunity for you to come over and dictate. You can take the pencil and the paper and say, you know what, tell me about what you've drawn. And you
Absolutely.
can write out exactly what they say they've drawn. I've drawn a 5-story house and it has yellow doors and blue windows. That
Yeah, but
descriptive language.
you're gonna be pulling that language out by using open-ended questions, right?
Absolutely.
So blocks, obviously, it's not just gonna be blocks. That's kind of boring. I'm sorry. We need to come from, remember the changing of perspective, right? And so when we're talking about just the block area, it shouldn't be just, make it exciting. Make it so that that child who's non-compliant, that child who's, I don't know, defiant, that might be his favorite center. And now we're going to use that as an incentive. You know what I mean? And so you are going to make the more interesting and the more, I want to go into this block center right here, So like the more, oh my gosh, the wow factor, the decrease in maladaptive behaviors. There's just gonna be, you know what I mean? And so we talked about open-ended questions.
Right.
What are those, Adrienne?
Well, the open-ended questions, these are questions that provoke thought. While the children are doing the different things, it's you're asking them to kind of expound on what they have constructed or what they've built.
It's not yes and no answers.
It's not yes and no answers. And it's also feedback that differs from, oh, you did a good job, I like it. It goes a little bit deeper. And some of the questions that you can ask, open-ended questions that you can ask in blocks are, how can we make a bridge over your structure? What else could you try? How could you make it taller? How could you make this longer? How did you build it? Tell me about the structure that you built. Tell me why you chose to make all of the doors yellow and all of the windows blue. What else could we add to it? Why did you choose to build this? All of these different things.
It's hard for teachers, and on the dime, it's very difficult to kind of think of an open-ended question. So one of the tricks, right? Just have 1 or 2 openers that you start every question with. For example, I wonder, and finish it up. I wonder what would happen if I put another one on top. I wonder what would happen if I took one out of the bottom. I wonder is a really good starter for an open-ended question.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
It is. It's a really good way to start with open up questions. I wonder it's that, provocating thought.
Right. And then, and you can also do math concepts. Which one is bigger, which one is longer, or which one is, heavier, or which one, I don't know.
And another math concept is sorting. And to go deeper into sorting, this picture in the middle, I'm going to try to expand my screen a little bit. I don't want to do it too much because I don't want to mess anything up. But the one that says building materials, if you can see, there are different shapes of blocks. So these blocks, the shelf is sorting the blocks into the different shapes. So this is the way they put them away.
It's a math concept built into the
It's a math concept that's built in.
And into the cleanup.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. It makes cleanup easier. It's that math concept built in with sorting. Talking about literacy again, but literacy in a different way.
Those environmental signs.
The environmental print signs.
Yeah.
What child does not know what the golden arches mean?
Ooh,
what child does not know what the target symbol is? So just
see a good one too.
Starbucks is definitely a good one. So they get to see all of these different signs, and they're learning their environmental print, and you're helping to keep your environment print rich. Another thing that I want to point out, in terms of challenging behavior, sometimes the fun part of building with blocks is that you get to tear them down.
Yep.
There are sometimes you may have some children in your classrooms that they're not focused on the actual structure that they're building. They just want to kind of be a little destructive and tear everything down. And it's okay. But Sandy, you had given the idea to me a long time ago
What did I say?
You said, I said, well, you know what, it seems, you know, the child is just being very, very destructive. What else can I do to give this teacher some strategies or some ideas on how she can help, you know, him with this, especially in the block area? And so you said, create a book of structures that they've already built or that they can build. And it's okay if he tears the block structure down that he's built, but say, you know what, let's see if you can flip through the book together and say, let's see if you can make this structure, and then you can tear it down and build another. And
Demolition.
a great solution to what was a challenging behavior for this teacher, because he was just going through and just stacking up blocks and kicking them over.
Right.
So that was a great solution for that. And it is also great to help, you know, build their imaginations and help make them feel like, oh, this picture is in this book, let me see if I can build it. And they'll be so proud to see that they can construct that.
Absolutely. And the other part of it is, you know, our role as teachers is to play with our students. That is how they learn, right? And so when you are on the floor with them, you know, when you are actively participating, when you show that you really care about what they're trying to make, that rapport, that relationship, it's all about that bottom pyramid, right? Bottom level of the pyramid, that rapport, that's going to be those little deposits in your piggy bank of you know, warm and
Positive,
feelings,
yes.
so that when a child may have a maladaptive behavior, you know, they know that you're a safe person, they know you care, they know that you love them, right? And so the other thing about you know, using blocks as a center is vocabulary. You know, just because they're 3 doesn't mean that we have to talk to them like they are 3.
Right.
You know, I like to talk to children like I would talk to another adult, you know, and obviously, you know what I mean, but expand on vocabulary. If they're interested for that little boy that was destructive, okay, well, let me see if I can get pictures of, you know, these trucks that actually destroy buildings. Let me label them. Let me get you a book on, you know, construction and demolition. Did you know that that's what you're doing? You're the demolition guy. And so instead of it being a negative moment, you know, like you're taking interest, you're actually having him build, you're providing an expansion in vocabulary, you're interested, and he gets to kick it down. It's a win-win situation. That's all I have to say.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Blocks, definitely a must do in your room, definitely, but it doesn't have to be just blocks. Adrian, before we go, point out about those people. That's adorable.
So it's, you know, when you're using blocks, it's important to have different things other than blocks, like we said, also other than books. But you can also use animals, your farm animals, your zoo animals, ocean pets, etc. But it's also really, really cool to use people. And so these blocks that are here, these are just pictures of the actual students in the classrooms. Of course, the faces are blurred, but these are actual students' pictures that are glued to these blocks, and they call them me blocks. So as they are building and as they're constructing, if they're making a skyscraper and say, well, this is the Chrysler building, and I work at the Chrysler building, this is where the child said, you know, they take their block and they put their block in that building. So this gives them a little bit more ownership in that whole process. And it also just increases imagination.
Absolutely. The one thing we didn't talk about,
okay,
social interaction in the block center, right? And so now we're getting into the, we've got 2 or 3 or 4 really excited kids. What happens when we have a maladaptive behavior, right? This is the time when you, as a teacher, again, because you're being interactive, you can model what it looks like to ask or request appropriately. Hey, Johnny, do you think I could have that block over there? Are you using it? Thank you. Or if somebody goes to Smash, you can correct the behavior and say, oh, did you want the blue block? Can you say blue, please? and then they'll say blue block. Boom. So these are the ways that we're going to use those centers to kind of show all about our social skills. Like that's a hard area to regulate.
It is.
To maintain that regulation.
It is. And Sandy, also to help, help children who, sometimes we have those children in our classrooms that don't know how to enter into a play space where there are already children in the middle of play.
Yes.
So you can also use those same strategies to teach them how to enter into a play setting where their children are already playing.
How do I mean, those are some social skills that we as teachers take for granted. And like those are social skills that some of our students, yes, pick up naturally because they're observers of their world and they kind of understand pragmatic language, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you have these students, these children that they don't understand the social cues and they just barge in, or and so we need to teach how do you ask, can I play with you? Is it okay if I join? Do you want to come play with me?
Right.
You know what I mean? So block center.
Absolutely. Amazing. It is an amazing center and it will definitely be one of your high traffic areas. So that is it for the Block Center today. Thank you so much for joining us for our Behavior Bites Tidbit topic today. And thank you for all that you do for our children in the community. And we'll see you next time.
See you next week.